Hello, I'm Helen, consultant clinical psychologist in North Wales. And together with some colleagues, I'm going to be talking about how we brought PACT into our region, a joined up and gentle approach to better understanding. So you can see Wales here in red in the UK. And here you can see our health board in the north. And we are located in Gwynedd and Anglesey over in the west. And you can see that we cover quite a large geographical area. So I'd like to give you a bit of a potted history of PACT in our area. So in 2011, we had a conference in Bangor and we saw Catherine Aldridge speak. And we were really gripped by the PACT approach because it resonated with some of the thoughts that we've been having and some of the things we've been doing. And the evidence base really grabbed us too. And so in 2012, we were really lucky to be able to have PACT training in Bangor, and a number of us were trained. And from then until 2017, we had a small project delivering PACT in our area. And from then, we've had a small multidisciplinary team delivering PACT. So our team consists of some clinical psychology time, speech and language therapy time, speech and language therapy technical instructor, and an assistant psychologist. Through this time, we've worked with over 200 families and trained several hundred hands-on staff in a PACT-informed approach. We wanted to tell you a little bit about what's helped us to bring PACT into our services, so in the hope that it might help other people in different areas. And of course, firstly, it was the evidence base. So it should go without saying, as we heard this morning, that you need a solid evidence base before bringing a new approach into a large public organisation like the NHS. Checking in with service users, secondly. So we've done this in a number of different ways, including continually gathering feedback from parents throughout the intervention and making sure that that's always part of our protocol. And also linking in with the university and getting involved in local research projects to inform our service delivery. So for example, in 2015, Emily Bloxham did a study with parents looking at how they experience being part of or taking part in the PACT therapy. And then more recently, Lindsay Jackson has looked at the acceptability of PACT to parents and considered the different elements of the way we've implemented PACT in our area and how they've impacted on their experience, which is really helpful for us thinking about how we continue with the work. Thirdly, maintaining links with the PACT team in Manchester has been really useful to us, and that's been helpful in terms of keeping fidelity to the approach and also keeping up to date with the research updates as they've come in. Fourthly, reporting to leaders and managers. So we've tried to make sure that the service user feedback and the developments in the evidence base have been continually fed up to leaders and managers. And we've been grateful that we have had leaders that have been willing to listen to what parents are saying and imagine new ways of working. So, for example, one way we did this was we hosted a one-day conference for stakeholders in 2016, and we had a wide variety of people who came, and we did some feedback on the latest research, and we also allowed parents to tell their own story about their PACT experiences. Establishing our own structure to support PACT therapists has been really key to what we're doing. So we've done this largely through having regular peer supervision groups facilitated by an experienced member of the team, and also regular individual supervision for PACT therapists. And we've also been monitoring service provision and just supporting each other really to improve the service as we've gone along. We've taken a very flexible approach. We've worked in a multidisciplinary way, a multi-agency way, and I think that's given us a richness of perspective in terms of embedding it into our services. We've linked in with interested others and supported PACT champions as they've emerged in the different professions and settings. So that's included psychologists, speech and language therapists, and teachers, specialist teachers. And we've always tried to respond when we've been asked to provide training on PACT in any setting that we've been working. And one thing that's helped us to do this was to develop a bilingual, in English and Welsh, PACT-informed training pack for hands-on staff called May I Join You? And last but not least, grant funding. So we have outreach to core services, and our colleagues in core services have delivered PACT and been very much part of what we've been doing. But it's been really helpful to have grant funding to support the different elements that we've needed as we've gone along. So in terms of staffing and resources. So thank you for listening. And I'd like to now pass over to my colleague who's going to tell you a little bit more about how it works in our area.
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm the speech and language therapist in our team, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about the key aspects of our service. So firstly, we accept referrals from a wide range of health professionals. This is key. We're really, really passionate about early intervention. So with that in mind, we took our aims out to the community paediatricians and the health visiting team. And we aim to get those referrals straight into us if we can from the 15-month health visiting check, which they do in our area. So we've noticed when we manage to work with a child as young as 15 months, really significant shifts and really quick shifts in shared attention and play. Secondly, we deliver PACT to a wide range of children with communication difficulties, often prior to diagnosis. So from the outset, we've extended and tried to include a very wide cohort of children, and our grant funding was dependent upon including children with a learning disability within that cohort. So we've worked with children as young as 12 months and as old as 15 years with learning disability, and we've included children with profound and multiple learning disabilities within that cohort. Thirdly, we aim to train all staff working with a child in an educational or childcare setting, often prior to diagnosis. So, and in the principles of PACT. So the key thing here is that we have 3 amazing special schools in our area, and they're all working towards accreditation through ELCLAN as communication-friendly settings. Now, key to that is training all of their staff in language and communication development. And one key area within that is that, enhancing the skill basically of the adult-pupil interaction. And what we've found is that PACT is a really amazing evidence-based tool and a detailed way in which you can unpick that interaction and really help staff to reflect on their interactive skills with the pupils. So in order to sort of facilitate this, we've offered whole school training. We've had some really lovely success working sort of quite closely with individual classes, and really exciting that they're embedding it within their school development plans, that within a classroom, PACT is part of the timetable for that child. They will have allocated sessions where they go out with their learning support assistant. So that is fantastic and really exciting work, which they're now carrying on much more autonomously really without us, but really exciting work. In addition to the training in special schools, we've also been really fortunate recently to be invited to roll out training as part of the new ALN code in Wales. So essentially this is bringing in the new code from 0 to 25, and we've been asked to sort of do a potted May I Join You training as part of that rollout to all childcare settings, and really emphasising the adult-child interaction and following the child's lead in play and in what they're doing is a key facet and should be part of all of those sort of that universal tier of services. Every child should have access to ring-fence time for that in and out of their day, throughout their day. Fourthly, we provide hands-on support for staff working directly with children in childcare and education settings. So all of our preschool settings, we have Cylch Meithrin in Wales. They've all had access to May I Join You, which is the PACT that Helen just talked about, which draws out some of the key strategies and principles of PACT to roll out that training. and they've all had access to that sort of generic training, but we also focus it in. So if we know we have a child leaving a specialist nursery and going out into mainstream, we'll invite their one-to-one worker or a member of their class team to come to the training, and then we invite ourselves into the setting to go and video that adult working with the child and help them to reflect on their interaction style. And that's a really lovely way of just helping to build up the skill and confidence in that adult, and build that rapport between the adult and the child. So that's a really lovely way, and I think it's definitely our mission that wherever that child is, and wherever the child might be, that everybody around them knows how to join them in play. Finally, we're very flexible in where we deliver PACT. So sometimes that is booking a clinic room. More often, I would say, we're out in the family's home, and sometimes we're outside bouncing on the trampoline. And we're flexible, whatever works for that child. Sometimes when situations have been really challenging, we might have found ourselves pottering off for a walk in the park or down to the beach. But the key is that it's got to be acceptable to the parents, so it's got to be what works best for the family. And also working very closely with skilled professionals in our core services. So I'm very lucky, I've got 2 speech and language therapy colleagues that are also PACT trained, so quite often they're the right person to be delivering PACT with the child they're working with, and we'll support that through loaning equipment or offering one-to-one supervision, or as Helen's already mentioned, we do group supervision on a regular basis, so every 6 weeks. So lovely, thank you very much for listening. I'd like to hand you over to Marianne, who's going to share some other aspects of our service.
Okay, so Marianne was going to talk to you about integrating autism into the diagnostic process, a joined up and gentle approach to diagnosis. So many of the children receiving PACT in our service have not been assessed for autism yet, and parents have to access a separate service for assessment and intervention. What we found doing PACT is that parents are often ready to hear and accept that their child has autism as part of their PACT journey. And therefore there's a bit of a mismatch when a clinician's working with a family that are ready to hear it, but they haven't had a diagnosis yet. So some clinicians in the team have got both dual roles as a diagnostician and also as a therapist in the services. And so we carried out a trial of this approach by assessing 8 children, integrating it into their PACT therapy. So we were mindful of the NICE guidelines for autism assessment, which many of you will be familiar with, and they are listed there for you. And we tried to make sure that we had a good measure of all of the things that are needed, even if we weren't necessarily, say, using an ADOS. So our assessment pathway, PACT sessions were reviewed during supervision, as we usually do. So that could be group supervision, all done with parents' permission. And so we may have been familiar with the children either through PACT supervision or through working with them directly ourselves as clinicians. And a developmental history was taken either by the diagnostician with the PACT clinician present or by the PACT clinician. And during the session with the family, the PACT clinician would try to engage in direct play with the child. So we had some kind of feel for what it was like for a different person other than the parent interacting with the child. And we would also make sure that we gained information from all the other professionals working with the children, as we would normally do, and information from other settings. And that's helpful when we've been working in the setting as well. So the benefits that we found of this approach were that through PACT, because of the nature of the therapy, that it's very much join the parents where they are in their understanding of their child, and you usually build a trusting relationship with them. And then it makes it that much easier, we found, for the parents to hear and accept the diagnosis, because you're able to use the parents' own language and their own understanding to help them to process the information that we're sharing with them. And we found that was, felt much more gentle from the clinician's point of view. But also, the parents also reported that was a a more gentle way, an easier way. We found obviously it's a more efficient use of clinicians' time if they don't have to get to know a new family, but particularly for parents, they don't have to get to know a new clinician. It's not a stranger coming in, assessing their child and giving their diagnosis. It's a much more sort of fluid approach. It does mean as well that parents don't have to access two separate services and just have that one point of contact for the assessment and intervention. And we also, as we know, early diagnosis can help parents to move on in their journey in terms of what they do next. What can I do to help my child? Which is often the response that parents have when they get a diagnosis. And it also means that they can access more tailored support and information going forward. So one parent said to us that she, the clinician, had all the information about him and she had videos of him and she was able to do his diagnosis really quickly, and that just helped us as a family. So in terms of plans for the future, we are hoping to bring our grant-funded work much more into core services so that it's we're able to give a more consistent service across the area, and that it's funded by the NHS and it's what parents are offered as a standard offer. We hope to train and provide supervision for lots more clinicians to deliver PACT within their role, and both Kate and Marianne have just undergone the trainer training, so we're hoping to be able to run courses and provide more quality supervision for people in our area, professionals in our area, to deliver PACT. We're really enthusiastic about our work with the staff in other environments as well, in schools and so on, so we really want to make sure that we carry that on as well. We are passionate about the whole model of putting the child at the centre of our work, and we want parents to feel that they are the centre in supporting their child, and that we wrap services around parents so that they can wrap their care around their child and focus on their child. So thank you very much for listening.